Hi, everyone, and welcome to another REFSIX Weekly. I'm your host, Hassan, and I'm joined as ever by my two co-hosts. I've got John, who's a level 4 referee from England. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you.
And then I've got a level 3 referee from Denmark, Ramon. How are you?
Very good.
Good. This week in the Premier League, there was a whole host of games, lots of incidents that we're going to touch upon, specifically the Man U Liverpool game with my co-hosts who are both, Ramon's a Man U fan and John's a Liverpool fan, so I'm sure that's going to be interesting. I actually was able to take the day off from refereeing and go and watch Crystal Palace against my team, Newcastle. And there was one particular incident that really saved our skin at the end of the game that we'll talk about too. But first and foremost, I'll touch on some news from the refereeing world, and it comes from Italy, where this weekend assistant referee by the name of Francesca De Monte will become the first female official to act in the Serie A for 18 years, and actually only the second ever to make a debut in that top division. And she will be the assistant referee in the game between Udinese and Hellas Verona. So congratulations to her. Lovely to see more examples of female officials getting chances in their top flight. And Serie A is obviously one of the biggest leagues in Europe. So an amazing achievement. But boys, let's just get straight into the big game of the weekend. People were tipping Man U to potentially cause an upset. And basically it just went all pear-shaped for Man U. It ended up 5-0 to Liverpool. Rimon didn't talk to John for a few days, so this is the first time we've actually got them on a call having a conversation. So overall, guys, crazy game, or was it well deserved for Liverpool?
Who should start? I can go. Crazy game. I don't think a crazy game. We just showed who's the best at this moment. Man U have struggled a long time with it. Even having just a simple system. Liverpool are playing very good in their games. So I don't think it was. It was a surprising result. I thought maybe 2-0. If it was 2-0, I didn't think it was that surprising. But 5-0, red card, a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, maybe you could say it was a crazy game after all.
I think it shows a different side of football that we don't see very often, in terms of a team goes 5-0 down and, you know, they start getting a little bit gritty. They were 5-0 down and Pogba got sent off. They were 4-0 down and Fernandez put in a nasty challenge. They were 5-0 down or 3-0 down and Fred put in it just got a bit gritty, and it shows. And that's what happens at Sunday League sometimes. It's something as referees we have to be aware of, that if a team are 5-0 down, they might just, frustration and anger all sort of comes out on the pitch. And I think that showed in the Man United game that, Man United were frustrated, the players were frustrated, and it showed. And it's quite nice to see that, that the professional teams do exactly the same as the Sunday League teams. And it was quite a nice comparison, actually.
No, good point.
I just like in this podcast we're going to talk about referees' incidents, right, and not the game itself. So
no, exactly. So you guys mentioned that there was a red card for Paul Pogba, and we'll talk about that. But there were also two other challenges that went in that were shown. Anthony Taylor, who's a referee on the day, gave 2 yellow cards. So we'll talk about those two. But let's start with Paul Pogba. He'd just come on at halftime. 10, 15 minutes later, he puts in this challenge that initially was given as a yellow card. Was it given as a yellow card?
Yeah.
And then Anthony Taylor was recommended to go and have a review, VAR, went over to the screen and initially quite quickly changed his mind. So, yeah, John, let's start with you as a Liverpool fan. Was this a certain red card as you saw it?
I think so. There was a lot of questions about, his foot's gone over the ball. We can't really do anything about that, which was originally why I think it was a yellow. And obviously it hit his non-weight-bearing foot, which makes it look slightly less worse than it is. There's no leg break. There's no... but I think the main concern, it reminds me back there's been 2 tackles like that. John Joe Shelby got sent off in the same fixture on a tackle against Ander Herrera, where he won the ball absolutely clean, but he's gone over the top of the ball, so the studs are up. He's left the ground. It's a similar situation to that, and we've said it in the World Cup or the Euros, sorry, that those challenges are now getting punished regularly, and VAR is changing the decision to the correct one, I think. But the only problem, it's not a problem, but as soon as Anthony Taylor was recommended to go over to the VAR, you knew he was gone. There was no... I think that's the only thing when people get called over to the screen, you basically know that the decision is going to be reversed, or, the challenge is going to change.
Ramon?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I think he gave a yellow card because of his positioning. I think he couldn't see what's going on. He hit his back and couldn't see exactly what happened. But definitely a red card. You could see he almost jumped into the tackle. His both his legs were stretched. He came from a distance as well. And I mean, come on, it was on Liverpool's half, far down their half. So definitely a red card. Frustrating things from United side. Pogba starting out, coming in, very frustrated. Yeah. So
as a referee, that's a local derby. So say you've got 2 local teams, a player gets subbed on at half time in a game where they're not doing very well. He wants to make an impact, doesn't he? He wants to make a difference. And I think as a referee, you've got to be prepared to be like, he might be a hothead. He's come on at half time. So the manager's obviously wanting him to make an impact. So I think you've got to always have that in the back of your mind, that he might just have a little bit of a live 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, to me, I thought it was a easy straight red. As you watch it back, you can see he jumps in from a distance. Both feet are challenging. He only makes contact with the one, but it goes over the top of the ball and hits. Who was the defender? I can't remember. Let me have a quick. It was Keita, wasn't it?
Keita.
And he's gone over the ball, and his studs have gone into the side of Keita's leg, shin area is quite high, right? And to be honest, I think the force is enough to make sure it's a serious foul play. So I agree, Ramon. Anthony Taylor's view probably doesn't help him. He's a little bit more central because the ball is nearer to his assistant. But yeah, on reflection, once he's watched it back, it's an easy red card, and it kind of showed that it's interesting your point of view, John, that Pogba's come on to try and make an impact, but it looked like Pogba came on to go off. It didn't look like he wanted to be there, so it was quite an interesting one. There were 2 big other challenges that Anthony Taylor saw. They weren't recommended for a review after he'd given them both a yellow card. So, John, do you want to just describe one of these? Do you want to describe the Ronaldo one?
Yeah, sure. So Curtis Jones, Ronaldo, tussling for the ball, a fair fight. Near the Liverpool goal line, obviously Jones is trying to hustle the ball out. Ronaldo's trying to get the ball. And then Ronaldo fouls Jones. And then Jones sort of not wraps his body, but it's like a banana shape around the ball where he's fallen over. And Ronaldo has smashed the ball, I can only say from point blank range, into Curtis Jones' stomach. And this causes a melee of Liverpool. Van Dijk comes over and starts trying to throw his weight around, and so does everybody else trying to say their 50 piece. And Cristiano got a yellow card for it.
Mm-hmm. And as a Liverpool fan, or as a referee, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's tough. I've listened to a few people talking about it, saying Ronaldo's lucky the ball was there, because if the ball wasn't there, it's a red card. But I feel like the intent was there. You can see Anthony Taylor has blown the whistle. Everyone knows the ball has stopped, and Ronaldo has then gone and kicked the ball again and walked straight away, knowing what he's done. He's not put his hands up and be like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." He's walked away being like, "Yeah, and what?" So I know we can't throw around the word intent because you never know if anyone's done it, but his body language and his actions, for me, seem as if he's deliberately done this. So for me, realistically, it is a red card. And I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, but he's kicked the ball." But I think it's a red. I think it's a red.
Cool. And Ramon, I'll let you have the other side of the view, or do you have the same view as John?
Well, I have, but again, I will say he was lucky because let's say he kicked the ball twice without blinking, I would have given him a red card. He did it once, and you have to look at the bigger picture, right? Because they're losing at that time 3 or 4-0, not going their way. He's very frustrated. So I think maybe the referee just had all this in his mind and thought, okay, he's frustrated. Nothing more serious than this happened. He kicked the ball, walked away. That was a small fight, and Van Dijk came up and stuff like that. But he probably got a yellow card for unsporting behavior, and that's it. Yeah, I wouldn't have given a red card. But if he kicked the ball one more time, I think this is where my limit goes and a red card. So I think I agree on. Also read and have heard a lot of people talk about it, and I probably agree with most of them saying kicked again, probably will give him a red card. Because is it a serious foul play? It's not. Kicking
You
a
could
man.
call it violent. You could call it violent conduct. It can't be serious foul play because the ball stopped, right? The game stopped. So serious foul play is only applicable if there is a challenge being made. The game's going on. So this now moves into, is it violent conduct or not? So if let's move it away. Let's say Curtis Jones is 10 yards away from Ronaldo and Ronaldo kicks the ball at him, you might be considering a red card there, depending on if you determine it to be a violent act or not. It depends on Ronaldo can kick it pretty hard, right? So if he smashes at Curtis Jones, you might be thinking red card. So the fact that Curtis Jones is right by him kind of maybe saves him a little bit because you can't see the full force. I think there is I think you can support both yellow and red here. If Anthony Taylor pulls out a red, I don't think there's any real complaints. So I'm probably leaning more towards red than I am yellow. Again, it kind of, if this was in a Sunday League game, you've got to really make a judgment call because that has obviously incited the Liverpool players, and are they going to look at seeking retribution in some way? Is the safest option to get this guy off the pitch, because otherwise it's going to cause you less hassle going forward or not? I don't know. To me, it was probably a little bit more borderline red than it was yellow, but actually the yellow card worked in this incident. It calmed everyone down a little bit, and there wasn't a huge amount of challenges on Ronaldo afterwards that I remember. So I'm on the fence, as I always am.
Shocker, yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because I think it would be hard to open the law book and find somewhere in the law book saying this is a red card, because it is non-sporting behavior, and non-sporting behavior is a yellow card. If the ball wasn't there and he kicked the player, that's something else, right? So this is where we come in and say this is violent conduct. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think on the next one, I'm pretty clear in my decision. But this was another challenge later on. It was earlier on than this. I can't remember exact time frames, but it was Fernandez.
On Curtis Jones.
Curtis Jones is on the wall. Oh wow! So Curtis Jones was going down the wing, and Fernandez tried to stop him, and has caught him pretty high, or slightly high up his leg at speed, right? No? Go on, you describe it, Roman. You tell me what it was.
Well, as I saw it, it was he came in with 1 foot. If we compare the Pogba Red with the Fernandez foul, his foot is not high as Pogba's. He also took he withdrew his foot, or whatever you say. Like he took his foot back again from the fall, and the contact wasn't that bad as if I'm comparing to Pogba's one. So, and here was the game still on, right? So here we need to look at if it was a serious foul play, and in my opinion, it wasn't. So I understand why they need to look into it, but a yellow card for me.
Cool, John.
I think that it's a red card. I think he's caught him high. I think he's caught him at some speed. I think the ball's not in play anymore in terms of Curtis Jones has gone through, like, knocked the ball away. Then Fernandez has come in. I'm 90% sure he's left the floor as well. It's been a while since I saw the clip. So technically he's out of control because he's left the ground. I don't think so. We've got speed, we've got height. I think it ticks enough boxes to send him off.
So I'm happy here with a yellow card. I just found it in the office, a yellow card. Mainly because I actually agree with Ramon. I don't think the contact's that high. I think if you actually watch it back, it kind of maybe just around the ankle. But the key thing here for me is the force doesn't fit. I think it looks worse because it's at pace, that Curtis Jones is going at pace, Fernandez is going at pace, and it looks bad, but actually I think the contact or the force is fairly minimal, and it just looks bad because it's at pace that it has an impact. So for me, I think Hansi Taylor made a really good decision here in giving it a yellow card. But this is football. Everyone has different opinions. If you're listening and you think it's definite red, let us know in the comments. Let us know on Twitter what your thoughts are on all three of those incidents from the big game from this weekend. We'll move on and we'll go to the game that I was at, the Palace-Newcastle game, where in truth, Palace dominated us for pretty much the whole game. Callum Wilson scored an amazing overhead kick. So if you haven't seen it, definitely try and watch that on YouTube. But we were saved, and we were saved in the last few minutes where Benteke, who had a pretty good game by his standards, he missed a few chances, but he was pretty much dominant in the whole game. There was a corner come in, and he's basically got a free header and scores with a few minutes left and to win the game, basically. But as soon as the goal went in and the Palace players went off to celebrate, you could see the defenders for Newcastle going up to the referee and saying, "Hold on a minute, I've been fouled here." And honestly, I just thought it was, when you're watching a corner, when you're in the stadium, there's so much that goes on at a corner that you can't really see, right? And there's no replays, and they don't really show it on the screen. But then they did, and you could see the Newcastle players pointing at the screen saying, "Look at that, there's a clear foul, clear pull." And I actually had no confidence that they were going to actually give this at all. I just thought we were moaning. And then Darren England, the referee, gives the VAR screen, runs over to the VAR. And as soon as that happens, again, like John, you mentioned earlier, it's very likely that the goal will be disallowed. And it was. And then I've watched it back. And you can see, I think I don't know how to pronounce the Crystal Palace's defender's name. I think it's Gay or something like this. And he was basically holding on to Kieran Clark, who was nearest defender to Benteke, and has grabbed a huge chunk of his shirt to pull him down. It doesn't look light. It looks like it's had a big enough impact that it stops Kieran Clark from challenging Benteke for the ball, and therefore potentially stopping that goal. So I think this was a great decision. I think it was a great spot from VAR. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I think it's somewhat similar to the Morpay incident we had, where Morpay's holding on and pulls down and then obviously Brighton score from it. So it's nice to see that they've either looked at that and reviewed it and been like, okay, we need to be slightly more hotter on corners, because realistically, that's, other than the big challenges like the Pogba one, VAR is probably most handy in the box. There's only two people that realistically are close enough to the linesman on whatever side the corner is, if he's that side, and the referee. So there's so many shirt pulls and so much sort of, should we say, dark arts that goes on in that box. Then this is where VAR is probably going to help out most referees. And I think it's a prime example of how good it is when it works really well.
Yeah, and I totally agree on that. Definitely the right decision. I think when I'm a referee and need to look into these situations, I have three things that I have a huge challenge with. You guys saw, for example, the offside situations when I'm out and refereeing. It's on my own. The second thing is the corner kicks. I mean, do you need to look if it's a handball, free kick? You need to look into the goalkeeper as well. There's so many things, and it's really hard to get everything right. And the third thing is free kicks, because um, you need to take offside as well on a free kick if it's clear, if it's near the goal. So definitely a hard decision for the referee alone, and happy that the VAR was there to help out.
No good. One other disallowed goal from this weekend came in Brighton's game against. No, it wasn't a disallowed goal, but it could have potentially been. Came Brighton against Man City. It was the first goal where there was some conversation about whether the Man City attacker, I think it was Jesus, fouled the goalkeeper Robert Sanchez in the build-up to the goal. Normally, when there is pretty much any contact on the goalkeeper, you'll see a whistle blown. I've watched this back from 5 or 6 different angles, and I think this was another great decision from the referee by, the attacker has the ability to go and challenge for the ball. We can't just say, okay, anytime the ball's near the goalkeeper, you can't challenge for it. So he has the right to go for the ball. The question is, does he go for it fairly? And I believe completely. I think Robert Sanchez just tries to reach over him, tries to get the ball, and just doesn't gather it cleanly enough. And therefore, it's no foul for me. And it was a great decision. Ramon, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's a foul. I think what you need to look into when you if I don't remember if VAR was looking into the goal, but of course they are. All goals they're looking into it. But I think you need to look into the player. His eyes, was it on the ball or was it on the goalkeeper when he tried to hit the ball? And as far as from the clips I've seen, his eyes was only on the ball and not the goalkeeper. And we need to remember it's a contact sport, so a little bit of contact should be okay. I don't think the goalkeepers should be that. I mean, I think before, yeah, you just had made contact with the goalkeeper in those free kick. I don't think this is how it works today. I think there needs to be more contact, and it needs to be obvious as well. So definitely think wasn't a foul. Yeah.
Cool. John, clean sweep?
Clean sweep for me. I think it's very easy. The goalkeepers do get a lot of protection from us. And I think the keeper has fumbled it, and everyone has a right to be there in that decision. It's a fair game. It's a fair fight. So yeah, clean sweep.
Cool. So we'll move on to the last 2 decisions, and they were both penalty decisions, one in the Arsenal-Villa game and one in the Leeds-Wolves game. Ramon, can you talk us through the Arsenal-Villa penalty?
Yeah, so the ball was in the penalty area at Aston Villa's penalty area. Like I said, wanted to kick the ball, and I don't remember, Matt Target maybe from behind came a bit late and hit, like I said, leg from behind. And the referee took the decision and pointed at the penalty spot and gave a penalty for Arsenal. I think it was a penalty. I mean, it was a bit hard to see. I would say the Aston Villa player tried to kick the ball, maybe saw, like I said, a bit late, but a free kick is a free kick. He came late. So for me, a clear and obvious penalty.
I think this one was really interesting because we've seen a lot of these where the defender goes to clear it, doesn't see the attacker, and all of a sudden the attacker appears in their vision and they just miss it. Like, it's very similar to kind of the Saka incident where he gets kicked the other day from a shot, and there was a few during the Euros. So to me, this was interesting because you can kind of see maybe Matt Target gets the ball through the legs of Lacazette, but he definitely, from my opinion, gets Lacazette first, and therefore it's a clear penalty. John?
Yeah, I think it's very clever play from the attacker, and you have to always be alert because That's the attacker's job, to get in front of the ball. And, you know, I think it's close for me to not being a penalty, because I know he's gone through the back of him, and that's obviously the main issue, is can you go through the back of someone and still win the ball? But Lacazette's legs were slightly wider than they probably should have been, and it looked like it originally when I first saw it that he'd clipped the ball through his legs, and I was thinking that's unbelievable, but he obviously caught Lacazette on the way through. But yeah, it's great play from Lacazette.
The next clip is, or the next decision that we're going to touch on, the last one for the week, is a penalty given to Leeds in the Leeds-Wolves game. The number 30, which his name is Joe Gelhardt, who's an English player for Leeds, made a pretty marauding run from kind of right wing through into the box, past 2 or 3 players, and he's pretty much through on goal as Nelson Semedo, the left back or the right back from Wolves, is trying to challenge him for the ball. And it looks like Semedo's coming in and kind of going shoulder to shoulder, potentially shoulder to back into Gelhardt's body, and trying to basically put him off the shot, right? So, Rimon, I'll let you talk about, that challenge, and then obviously Joe's gone down on the floor. What were your thoughts on this? The referee gave the penalty without needing VAR. So keen to hear your thoughts.
Well, when they come in this speed, something will happen. So obviously when I saw the clips, I saw a bit of push. I don't know if it was enough to give a penalty, but with this speed, everything just looks really obvious. When he gave him a little push and he falls over. I don't know. I mean, I probably haven't given it a penalty, but it was on the edge. I mean, yeah, he probably made the right decision, the referee, in the end. But that's a push. I don't know if it was enough for a penalty. From looking at the clips, I didn't think it was a clear and obvious penalty, but yeah.
And that's interesting, because I've just watched it back, and there is definitely the left arm of Semedo goes into kind of the chest, and there is definitely a pushing action. But I think you are completely right. Is that push enough to warrant the player falling on the floor? Is he not strong enough, or is it a penalty? John, do you want the final say on this one?
Yeah, I don't think it's a pen. For the same reasons, really. But I also think if you look closely at the clip, the Leeds player also throws his arm back a little bit as well, wants to try and push Semedo away. So they're both realistically trying to push each other. I know sometimes you say, oh, they're both doing it, but maybe it's a 60-40. I don't think it's that case in this. I think they're both tussling. I think they go, like you say, he's weaved in and out 3 or 4 times. Like, is he got all his balance still? Probably not. So for me, you wave away and say, go.
The only thing I will counteract is the Leeds player is ahead of Semedo. So there is the element of, it definitely looks like, the Wolves player's behind him, and he's gone, and he's really trying to stop him. The second point, if you watch it really closely, is the Wolves players don't really react to it. They kind of expect it being a penalty. So it's really strange, because I don't think it's a clear and obvious penalty, but they accept it fairly easily. I don't know if they were just frustrated in the game. They were winning, so maybe that's something to think about. But yeah, that was really interesting. There wasn't a huge amount of appeal from the Wolves players to say, hey, it wasn't a penalty. So yeah, I think it was a soft penalty, but it seems to be accepted by the Wolves players, which is strange. So there you go. But that brings the end to our podcast today. We've obviously gone through a variety of incidents. Let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think we were right? Do you think we were wrong? I think we only agreed on 1 or 2 of them. So someone's going to be right and someone's going to be wrong throughout this. Let us know. Give us a shout on YouTube in the comments, or send us a tweet. Thank you once again for listening, and we'll be back with another one soon. Take care.